You're very well welcome to Capital Sports 3.0, a special World Cup edition. It's our fourth really of the series, so we're keeping them rolling, as you all know. So, what have we got tonight? Well, tonight there are two decent matches coming up. We have Poland, Argentina, a real do or die, and of course Mexico and Saudi Arabia. Earlier on today, there were a couple of matches on, and they settled up quite nicely. A shocker, Tunisia beating France 1-0, and of course Australia downing the Danes 1-0 as well. I'm going to go straight away to our man in Tumen, our man in Siberia, the man who knows what's going on, Andrew Flint. Andrew, which of those two results today shocked you? I wasn't surprised by the Danish one, but I was surprised by France because Tunisia looked almost too boring for this World Cup.
Well, no, I agree with you 100%. I wasn't surprised that Australia... Well, I was surprised perhaps that they actually won because I thought all they would do is dig their heels in, knowing a point was likely going to be enough. Denmark was so unbelievably pedestrian and did very, very little with what possession they had. So quite frankly, I'm delighted. Australia, I don't think really have much hope, or I don't mean to be demeaning, but probably not ambition to do a great deal more than get out of the group. That's an incredible achievement, only the second time in their history. France, they basically knew it didn't really matter what happened in their games. They rotated a fair bit, but they still had the likes of Kylian Mbappe, Antoine Griezmann on the pitch. Griezmann getting that real last gasp equaliser, which didn't really change much for them. But in the space of 30 seconds, Tunisia went from being one goal away from going through to seeing both their chances taken away from them. So I'm pleased for Australia. Bit of endeavour, making the most of, relatively speaking, limited resources. So I think they deserve it. Denmark, I think, I knew they were going to be boring, but I didn't realise quite how boring this World Cup. So I'm pretty happy overall.
My microphone, thank you, Andrew. I realised it very quickly. So yeah, I did think, last year at the Europeans, the absolute furor, which we pointed out over Christian Eriksen, we raised a lot of questions about it. And people just, he went on, he signed for here, he played for here. And I was like, wait, no, this guy died on the pitch and now he's back playing again. This is a bit messed up in the head. But anyway, I'm glad for Australia. It was good for them to do it. It's good for Asia as well because they needed that. Yeah. And as you said, Tunisia were so close to going through. I mean, it was a heartbreaker for them. And I'm going to share, folks, this screen with you so far of these first two group stages because it is interesting what's happened in, let's just say, both the groups so far. Because basically, for me, let's just say, Netherlands and Senegal. Yeah, I was disappointed Ecuador didn't go through because I thought that Senegal were a much more boring team, a very poor team. Qatar showed a little bit of what they were capable of in the last match against the Netherlands, still going down 2-0, but they have that ability. They are a decent team, but just played very badly. I think but they weighed 15 billion pressing down on them. I don't know, but they really underperformed. That is for sure. England and USA going through. Iran, no hard luck on them because they didn't play well in that game against USA. USA were deserving winners. I think the weight of expectations also got on the Iranian players. Wales, as we said all along, pure and utter muck. But fair play to them, they got there. Ireland didn't. So they got a point from 3 matches, and we're not ashamed in any of the matches as well. England beat them well, but still, I think it was a very, very, that's all they had left at the end. The story then, of course, then the groups today, we have an interesting one where you have Poland, Argentina going through. I mean, Argentina, that's just that's not going to work out if Argentina go through. France and Australia, as we mentioned, both on 6 points. Tunisia on 4 points. Unlucky for them. Denmark, they deserved to win. They were terrible. Andrew, look at these games tonight. It's big ones. Poland and Argentina. They're in the driving seat, but any one of these teams can go through. That is, am I correct, or have I read that completely wrong?
Well, yes, but Mexico will need. If Mexico win, then all they need is for Argentina to lose to Poland. I say all they need. They only happen to have one of the greatest players of all time and a load of other very talented players in the Argentina side. But Poland win and Mexico win. Mexico go through. Saudi Arabia win. I believe I'm right in saying actually that's all they need, because Poland, Argentina, one of them obviously will drop points. So, yeah, all four could go through. I think this is a very, very interesting last round of group games, which I didn't foresee at the beginning of the tournament, because I'd say almost half the planet has said this is going to be Argentina's World Cup, Messi's last World Cup. Will he make his statement? Will he finally stamp his incredible ability on the world stage? The pressure is on. They have to perform against a side they know they are technically better than. And again, I don't think it's insulting to say that to Poland, simply because Argentina are so unbelievably gifted. What I found interesting is that Argentina's defence has probably been slightly more consistent than the output of their attack, which I think that's been one of their problems for years, Argentina, how to juggle so many attacking talents. But anyway, pressure on Argentina massively. Saudi Arabia, I sang the praises after their first game. Brilliant first performance. And in their second game, they had a lot of shots. They dominated against Poland, but Poland took their chances. I have to say, I think Saudi Arabia are my favourites to go through here. I think they're going to get a result against Mexico. Mexico have offered nothing, not scored a goal yet. And it's a different kind of pressure on them. Argentina have realistic expectations to not just qualify from the group, but go far in the tournament. Mexico, there's no expectation to do much more than get through the group, and they've already wasted their best chance, in my opinion. So cannot wait to see how Hervé Renard sets up his side. There have been 3 changes to the lineup since the last game, and we've seen how impassioned he is, how much he commands respect of his players. So I genuinely think Saudi Arabia are going to be very, very confident of joining Australia as Asian representatives in the next round.
Okay, that's I think that's a fair enough call, and I do think it's an interesting one as well, because if you look at how they've all been performing, Saudi Arabia have they've caught fire in this World Cup, and people have really gotten to see what Saudi magic is. As we previewed it before the World Cup, we showed Saeed Al-Awran his great goal in '94. That's what they're capable of. Andrew, question on this, okay, on Saudi and in Qatar. Apart from players being sent to loan clubs where they basically, and I know from experience, Saudi players or Japanese players even, and even Chinese players being sent to Germany, doing very little. North Korean players being sent to Russia, and seeing that they were second division level, that's third tier in Russia. That's the level that the North Korean international players were at. Before previous World Cups and so on, that they were sent up for training. Why are players from Arab countries? Well, Arab countries, because of course Iran is not Arab, but from the likes of Saudi, from the likes of Jordan, from the likes of Qatar, from UAE, we've had very, very few players come from there playing in top leagues in Europe. Andrew, why is that? Is it because they're like Russian players who are just happy to sit at home and get a big paycheck, smoke kalyan?
Well, I think certainly, undoubtedly, that is one element of it. I think the approach, and this depends entirely if the federations, associations in the countries that you've mentioned actually want to park their players in other countries. We've seen, if they do, they need to change their approach. We've seen attempts to just artificially force a collection of players from countries in European leagues. We saw, I think it was something like 8 or 9 Chinese players were sent to a Portuguese club. We've seen the Saudi players a few years ago. There were about 4 or 5 of them, I think, were sent to La Liga clubs and got a handful of minutes, but absolutely nothing more. And I even mentioned, but in our preview show before the World Cup, Akram Afif, the big hope, creative talent of Qatari football, was on loan in Spain and he went through youth systems of Sevilla and Villarreal, I think it was. But again, made 11 top flight appearances in what was effectively 2 years on loan. When you try and force players into a culture, say you're going to play, it just simply doesn't work. There has to be, I believe, a culture of this is an okay thing to do. This is a realistic career path for not just players. European football, of course, is the dream for most players around the world. But will it affect my exposure on the national team level? I mean, it's not quite at the same level as in rugby union, for example. We've seen some countries, major countries, England did have a policy, I don't know if it still is in place, but certainly used to have a policy of only selecting players playing in England. Now, I don't know how much of a policy is still going on like that in football with these countries we mentioned, but I suspect there is not a favouritism, but simply almost a bit of pride. We want to build our leagues around our own players. A lot of leagues are relatively protective over the minutes young players, domestically grown players get. And I think possibly that's a large part of the reason why a lot of Saudi players, for example, haven't left, simply because they're valued, not just financially, but also their profile, the chances of, because continental and international football is absolutely huge in a way that Europeans just simply don't understand quite a lot of the time in the Asian federations. So they will get the exposure they want there. They know it's going to be a struggle. I mean, the first Saudi to make an impact in European football, the first Qatari to make an impact, has got to be spectacular, because there are so many nationalities that flood into Europe that there's a huge amount of competition. Why would you go there unless you're guaranteed a chance, realistically? So,
no, I get you on that, and I do remember when I was in Saudi Arabia, 2001, 2003, and seeing some of the Saudi players and seeing them playing live in the local league, seeing them play for the national team, for example, when they played Iran, it was a 2-2 draw in Jeddah. They were quality. They could put up physically. They were tough. Mentally, they were tough. They were well able for it. Yeah. I remember Nawaf Al Tamiyat, who was he was undercut going into the World Cup. He had an injury going into it in 2002, and he was sensationally good. And clubs were looking at him. Clubs wanted to take him, but he was playing in Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia and was getting a lot of money. And he was this kind of sparkly player who could, turn on the magic. But at the same time, scouts who I met who were there from Germany, and I'll tell one team from Duisburg from Germany were looking at him, MSV Duisburg. And I think they could have been first division at the time, I think, first Bundesliga, 2001, 2002. And so leading up to the World Cup. And the scout was given my contact details from friends of mine from Eintracht Frankfurt. When he came to Saudi, he stayed with me for 2 evenings, and we went to see Al Hilal playing in Jeddah. I think we were playing Al Ahly, I think it was in Jeddah, or Al Ittihad. Anyway, when he watched, he said, Nawaf played, but I don't think he played a full game. And he just turned to me and said, he'd be destroyed in the Bundesliga. He's too weak. He's not a man. That's the words he used. He's not a man. And I saw Nawaf getting kicked up and down the field by players, very good import players, but at the same time, there is that bit of fear. Okay, look, we'll leave it, Andrew, and I agree with you. The first time someone breaks through, it'll be huge. We're not. So we've given tonight. What do you reckon? What do you reckon the scores will be? What are you predicting the outcome for tonight? Who are you tipping to win?
Well, I've put my neck on the line and said I think Saudi are going to do the business against Mexico. I have a huge amount of faith in them, so I'm going to go. I don't think they'll necessarily run riot, because Mexico is still an incredibly good side, very well knit side. So I'll go with 1-0. I'll be conservative there, but to Saudi is my call there. Argentina, I think, will have enough. I mean, of course they have enough, but will they have the mental strength to oversee the pressure? I think they will, because I don't think Poland have quite enough to truly threaten Argentina, as long as they don't lose their marbles. So I think Argentina will probably win 2-0.
Okay, that is fair enough. All right. In saying that, do you think that it could be the chance maybe that Messi will as they say in Canada for goalkeepers, especially he'll stand on his head that he will be the outstanding player tonight.
It's going to be a very interesting test for him to see if he will do that. And he's not as obsessed, it doesn't seem outwardly or publicly, with personal accolades as a certain potentially Saudi-bound player. I do generally think there is more of a team ethic to his mentality. So I don't think he will care so much if he is not the spark, the reason why. And I think that's the one reason why, personally, in my opinion, he is the better player. But it's not about those two. Tonight, I don't think he will be the only difference, but he certainly will be vital for blindingly obvious reasons. Okay. So I think he will star, but not the only star.
Okay, very good. Okay, tomorrow's games, of course, we have the early ones kicking off 4 o'clock CET. That is Croatia, Belgium, Canada, Morocco. There's a lot of grabs in those groups as well, Andrew. It's it is all there to be played for, as you like to say. Spain hanging on. Of course, they drew that match with Germany. They're on top of the group of 4. Then Japan and Costa Rica, both on 3 points, and Germany on 1. There's a very real prospect of Germany going home early for another World Cup in a row. I'm looking ahead to the next one. I say, let's go back a step. Croatia, Morocco, Belgium, Canada. So that's a wide open group. If you look at it, you've got Croatia, Morocco both on 4, Belgium on 3, and Canada on 0. The games tomorrow, of course, the early games, you've got it's a decent one. Like the Croatia-Belgium game should be a cracker, but it could be awful. And Canada-Morocco, that's Morocco's to win. I mean, they'll win that falling. Like all they need to do is draw and they're through the next round. All right.
I believe so. Yes, they are a point ahead of Belgium. So if they draw and Belgium win, of course they would go 1 point ahead of Croatia. If Croatia win, then obviously they'll be even further ahead in second. And if there's a draw, then Morocco's points would see them above. So yes, all they need is a draw. It's going to be. I'm so disappointed that Canada themselves don't have something to play for. Partly because I tipped them to do well as potential dark horses in the tournament, but even though they have only scored once, conceded 5 goals overall, they really have competed in virtually the entire 90 minutes of both their games. So what will they be like on the final game? Nothing to lose in one sense. They want to go out with a bang, see if they can get their first ever point in the World Cup. But they're playing for pride only, and it's hard to say how they will play. If they play as well as they have done in the first 2 games, Morocco would have trouble. But Morocco will be full of confidence, not conceded a goal yet. Their result against Belgium have been desperately poor. So will the fact they only need a draw play against them? There are actually quite a lot of subplots to this one, despite only Morocco having something technically to play for. I do see Morocco winning in the end. But I think both teams could score in this one. As you say, Croatia, Belgium, you're absolutely right. It could be absolutely brilliant or absolutely awful. I thought it was really interesting listening to Kevin De Bruyne say, no, we've got no chance of winning this World Cup. We're too old. I mean, slightly odd comment to make in a way, but it's true. I don't think they have the quality at all. Croatia also, I'd say, are a reasonable distance off what they were 4 years ago when they got to the final. It is generally impossible to call. I really am not sure. I believe the Opta Analyst supercomputer, which it churns out a huge amount of data and gives a percentage chance of teams winning. That game, the Croatia-Belgium game, is the closest one of the tournament so far. It gives like a 36% chance for one and 37% for the other. I know statistics are not everything, but I thought that was an interesting point too. So I know I'm doing an Alan here. I'm sitting on the fence, and I genuinely don't know what's going to happen in both games.
Well, a draw is looking for Belgium. They go out in any if it stays as it is and they get a draw, unless Morocco get a hammer, then that's Morocco through. And it's great for Morocco because I mean they've been there for so long, they've tried for so long, and it's great to see them getting through. So, commenting from Arthur King, it's First King Arthur from the USA, good friend of our show. Arthur, how are you doing in California? I know you are in California, so please shout out to you. Stay warm. It's freezing where I am. He says Messi is no Maradona. The team needs to play for him, and then he followed up saying that Argentina would probably play better without the hype of Messi. Don't write off Poland. Oh, Andrew, so don't write off Poland. Okay, right, Andrew, I'm with you on that. And also, our friends in Verona said that who's Andrew's deck tonight to win? Well, he's just giving you. We've already put the scores up. Okay, you have this, we've shown the table. Now I'll look ahead to the next one, of course, which is just as interesting. Unfortunately, I got it all back to front. The next games tomorrow, of course, the evening games tomorrow are quite interesting as well, Andrew. You've got sorry, am I correct in this? Yeah, you've got
Costa Rica,
Japan, Spain, Japan. Jesus, Alan.
There will be pain in a minute.
Yeah, be pain. Yeah, well, okay. I'll have a flag on my chest if I don't get this right. Japan, Spain, Costa Rica, Germany. Germany looking very much like they're going home. This is a bad run for Germany. New manager, but still the same old crap with them. Andrew, this is not looking good for Germany, and it's going to be tough to beat Costa Rica, or am I wrong?
No, I genuinely don't think they will have too much trouble beating Costa Rica themselves. The question is, really in the other game, they're depending on, well, obviously they're only on 1 point, and they have to win. So mathematically, it doesn't matter what else happens; they have to win. They are playing Costa Rica, who have conceded 7 goals to Spain, and I think Germany are a better side than Spain overall. I mean, it is blindingly obvious that they are favourites on paper and in so many other senses too. So I don't think they're going to have trouble in their own game. The question is with Spain. I mean, look, before the Spain-Germany game itself in the second group stage game, I genuinely thought Germany were going to win, and they did take the lead. Well, before it was ruled out, Rudiger header, and they found it difficult against a quality side. Now we saw how stubborn Japan were against Germany. Now, if they can pull off that result, Japan know that realistically they're going to have to avoid defeat to go through. Realistically, they're going to have to win. Let's look at the goal difference. Japan are on 0 goal difference. Germany are only -1, and you'd expect Germany to win by at least 2 against Costa Rica. Therefore, a point would not be enough for Japan. So Japan kind of have to go for it. Spain, with some relatively aging and other inexperienced defenders, you don't know how their team is going to set up, how balanced it's going to be. So Germany, no problems beating Costa Rica for me. Which sounds weird when Costa Rica are on 3 points and they've got every chance mathematically. I think we're going to see a very tight game between Spain and Japan. Spain should win, of course. Japan's results against Costa Rica was just the most remarkable deflation after arguably one of their greatest ever results a few days earlier. You don't assume the Japanese team and players go into any game assuming the worst. They're generally a very, very cohesive unit, and they have a lot of respect on and off the pitch. I love seeing the fans tidy up in the stands. It's all part of a very respectful, driven, hardworking, I don't want to say the word culture, I'm not going to do Jurgen Klinsmann, but a team ethic that a lot of other countries could do well having. Spain can find it difficult.
Okay. Looking forward to Friday. You got South Korea, Portugal, Uruguay, Ghana, Serbia, Switzerland, Cameroon, Brazil. Again, those groups, we'll put them up right now, and you'll see that this is this is wide open as well in these last two groups. We could say that, of course, that Brazil have they have a bit more of an opportunity. They are looking better. They've got 6 points, so they should be through. Switzerland are chasing down very, very hard as well. They're on one win and one loss. Cameroon on 1 point, Serbia on 1 point. Difficult for them. And of course, in the next group, Portugal striding top of the group on 6 points. Ghana second and third on 3 points, and then South Korea underperforming, and Uruguay as well. Andrew, just for Hanya's sake, who do you reckon is going to come out on top in the first two games of that group on Friday? South Korea, Portugal, and Uruguay, Ghana. Now you're muted.
Well, I had to complete the bingo section. It wouldn't be Capital Sports 2.0 without at least one person muting. Those games, Portugal, I think are favourites against South Korea. South Korea were very, very strange in the game against Ghana. Looked a mess in the first half. Then not Heung-min Son. Sorry, I've got my tongue twisted there. Son Heung-min was not the man who changed it around for them, and he seemed to almost be throwing a bit of a strop on the pitch. I couldn't quite work it out. Passes weren't going his way, and he seemed a bit disappointed with that. Then they sort of turned it on a bit in the second half, but they don't quite look like they've found the best lineup in this tournament that is suiting them. I think Portugal will do the job there. There's no pressure on them. They're already through. The question is whether a point to secure first place is probably what they really need. But I think Portugal will win that one. The really interesting game is Ghana-Uruguay. Bit of a grudge match after 2010, and Luis Suarez's quite frankly disgraceful cheating and reveling in his cheating when he handballed on the line would have seen Ghana through to the semi-final in that tournament, and Luis Suarez is back. That's going to be the game to watch. That is definitely going to be the game to watch on Friday, because pressure's on Ghana. Uruguay, nothing to lose, bit of tension. How will they handle the grudge? Because it will mean more to Ghana.
I've seen predictions of 2 reds and 6 yellows in that game. I think it could be more than that. Arthur just said it's 60 degrees in California. That's 15 degrees in Europe. So yeah, that's mild. Quick one on this one, Andrew. Arthur, just England have a tough match against Senegal. Maguire and Stones and Mary Pickford, all liability. The English press have no idea. Remember Cameroon 1990, Lineker bailed them out. That's very, very true. We did mention that in the last show or before, that Cameroon, I think it was the last show, were so good, and they blasted through the groups. They beat Argentina in the first game. Argentina, of course, went on to get cheated out of it by Jurgen Klinsmann, of all people, in the World Cup final 1990. So there you go. So we're going to wrap up, because we're going to go up and watch this match. And thanks to everyone who watched. We've actually quite a few viewers, actually. It seemed people around the world, from Russia all the way across to California to Ireland as well. See one message in here as well. So hello to Justin, yeah, she's coming up now. And so the results tonight that Andrew has picked, he has said that is Saudi 1, Mexico 0, Argentina 2, Poland 0. Of course, some people disagree with that. So Andrew, until Friday, take care of yourself and enjoy the game this evening.
See you then, boss.
Okay, folks, that is it for now. I'm Alan Moore, your co-host for this evening, and I'm going into the room, and I'm going to watch the football. And of course, we'll be catching up with you. I'll be in a different location on Friday, but that's a secret. You'll see it then. And of course, we'll be catching up with all our guys for more information, of course, for the weekend when the playoffs the second round is starting. Huge matches, of course, coming up on that. Ones that you're going to really, really enjoy, and ones that I think that, Arthur's already sort of predicted part of it, because you got the Netherlands against USA. Someone then go to play from tonight. Will go play Australia. France again play the first from qualifying tonight, and England playing Senegal. That's on Sunday at 8 p.m. CET. So until Friday evening, 7 p.m. CET, 6 p.m. in Dublin, 9 p.m. in Moscow. I'm Alan Moore saying take care of yourselves and each other.